I have sent a link via the WhatsApp. You can hit that link and register for the attendance today. Please also remember to add in other details that are required for the class. I cannot see John today has not come in. The class rep, you can reach out to him and at least share with him, so we can give him maybe 30 seconds to allow him to join in. Okay, so welcome to today's class. Today we are going to learn about the types of gear train. And maybe before we start the class, I can hear from Chrysanthus. Chrysanthus, um, Chrysanthus, can you hear me? Chrysanthus?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Uh,
yes, I can hear you.
okay. Can you help us to define the term gear? What do you understand by the term gear?
Okay, I guess toothed wheel, which
Uh,
is used to transmit energy.
Very, very correct.
Not work, not
Motion,
to
motion.
transmit energy.
Yeah, it is motion or power.
Emotion.
Yeah, you're correct. Maybe we can just call it power rather than calling it energy, but that's a good attempt. Um, Thank you very much, Chrysandos, for helping us to define for us the term gear. So I hope you can be able to see my screen there. Um, so we're going to look at the types of gear. Gear, before we look at the types of gears, we just look at the definitions there. So as Chrysanthos has told us, it is true that a gear is a wheel which is toothed, but more to that, that is this gear normally engages another toothed mechanism with one purpose. The first one is to change the speed, that is either to increase or reduce, and also to or the direction, the direction of that that has been transmitted. So it can either reverse the motion of rotation. But also, we also have what we refer to as gear train. Um, a gear train majorly is made up of two or more gears, and they also have one purpose of also transferring either motion or also transfer torque from one shaft to another in rotation. But maybe something to add on, for example, if you have a gear here which is rotating, and we have another gear here which is rotating, now the first gear that you apply force on it, we normally refer to is a driver, and the one that you have transferred, uh, the one that you have transferred the force or the power to it, we normally call it the driven gear. So if we have a gear here which is first to be applied force on it, we're going to call that one a driver, and the one that has have transferred the force to it, we're going to call it the driven gear. But also something also to add on, if we have a gear here driving, let's say we have three arrangement of gears, the first gear, the second gear, the third gear, and the fourth gear. So in that arrangement, if all of them are meshing, the first gear we're going to call it the driver, and the last gear, the fourth gear, we're going to call it the driven gear. But the one that are in between there, we are going to call them the idlers. So in such a system, we're going to call it a gear train. So we're going to look at some of the uses of gears. And Rogers teach. Can you hear me? Rogers? Rogers?
Can you hear you? I can hear you. Can
Aha.
hear you.
Okay, can you give us one use of a gear?
Gear is used to transmit motion under different speed.
That's very correct. That's good attempt. Raphael, Bartonjo, can you give us also another use of a gear?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I have heard you, just Kipngetich. I have heard even your answers. Thank you very much. Kabartonjo, can you give
Hello?
us one use of a gear? Okay. Go ahead, Bartonjo.
Hello?
Yes, yes, Bartonjo. I can hear you. Okay. We seems to be losing Bartonjo. Chebi, Philemon.
Uses of Kia is to transmit power
Uh
from
huh.
one source to another.
Very correct. Very correct.
Transmission of powers.
Transmission
Yeah.
of power. Very correct. That's good trial. Chebi, Chebi, Philemon.
Oh, it's used in speed reduction.
Very correct. Speed reduction. Thank you very
Hello,
much. Thank you very much.
hello.
Yes, I can hear you. I have heard your answer. You've said speed reduction. That is very, very correct. So you can see on your screen there, majorly we have four uses of gears. The first one is to increase or decrease the speed of rotation. That is, for example, if you have a bigger gear driving a small gear, in that case, the speed will be reduced. And if you have a smaller gear driving, if you have a smaller gear driving a bigger gear, that's when the speed will be reduced. But in the case where we have the bigger gear driving a small gear, then we are going to increase the speed. But at the same time, if you look at the point number 2, the other use of a gear, they change the amount of force or torque. You'll find that when you have a bigger gear driving a small gear, the speed will be increased, but the force, that is the torque, will be reduced. And the vice versa is true. If you have a smaller gear driving a bigger gear, the speed will be reduced, but the torque will be increased. Another use also of a gear is to move a rotational motion to different axes. For example, you can find a gear moving in rotational motion and transfer it into linear motion. For example, where we have the rack and pinion. Rack always rotates round, and pinion will always move in linear motion. So in that case, we have used a gear to transfer motion from rotational to linear motion. Another also case is reverse the direction of rotation. For example, if you have a gear, a driver, and the driven, if they mesh together, then we will have, if any gear rotates in clockwise direction, the other one will rotate in anti-clockwise rotation. So in that case, it will have reversed the rotation of that gear. Okay, now we want to look at the types of gear train. So I would like us to at least attempt to highlight some of types of gear train. Let's maybe hear from the class. Types of gear train. Anyone that you know? Cosmas, Mutai? Cosmas?
Simple.
Very correct. Very correct. That is simple gear train. That's very correct. You want to add another one?
Another one is compound.
Compound. Very correct. Thank you.
Hello,
Thank you, Chebi. I heard you. Very correct.
hello.
Yes, I heard you. The answer is correct. Compound gear train. That's very good attempt from a class. So as we have been told by Cosmos that we have simple gear train. So in simple gear train, we have only one gear per shaft. The simple gear train is used where the large distance to be covered between the input shaft and output shaft. As you can see from the diagram there, so in this case, one gear is always mounted on one shaft, like the driver here and the driven, and here you can't be able to see the hole here where we normally mount the shaft, but of course mostly we normally mount the shaft on a gear. So in such a scenario where we have each gear on a shaft, then that system we are going to call it a simple gear train. Now for the compound gear train, at least we will have two shafts, two shafts on each, two gears, I mean, on each shaft. For example, in this case here that you can be able to see here, we have gear 2 and gear 3, and we have gear 1 and gear 4. So gear 1 is meshing with the gear 2, but you will discover if you look carefully, gear 2 and gear 3, they are on the same shaft. So that when gear 1 drives gear 2, they are able to rotate at the same speed with gear 3 because all of them are mounted on the same shaft. But at the same time, gear 3 will be driving gear 4. So in such system, in a compound gear train, we have at least one of the shaft in the train must hold two gears. So compound gear trains are used when large changes in speed or power output are needed, and there is only a small space between the input and output shaft. And the last type of the gear train is the epicyclic gear train. So the epicyclic gear train, from the word epicyclic, that gear is moving in cycles, and also another term that is used is called planetary. From the word planet, we know that planet revolves around the sun. So we have a sun gear in between, and outside this one we have the planetary gears. But also outside the planetary gears, we also have what we refer to as a ring gear. So this one, it consists normally of all central pivoted sun gear, a ring gear, and several planetary gears which rotate between this sun gear. So that marks the end of our lesson today, and I would like us to just to recap of what we have learned today in our lesson today. So I would like one of us to just help us to really review of what we have learned today. Maybe we can get to hear from Chrysanthus. Chrysanthus, can you tell us what we have learned today in class? Or Rogers, can you teach? You have a question? Please go ahead. Rogers, go ahead and ask your question. You have raised your hand.
No, I have no question, but I would like to clarify what you have learned today, which is the advantages of function of a gear.
Thank you very much. We have learned about uses of a gear or advantages of a gear. Very, very, very wonderful. Chrysandus, what have we learned today? We seem not to be getting Chrysandus. Okay, Cosmas, go ahead.
Yes, we have learned about types of gears.
Very good. We have learned about types of gear trains. Thank you very much. And also we learned about
yes.
Kimta, you want to say something? Okay, thank you very much. So indeed we have learned about the definition
Hello?
of yes, Cosmos.
That's it all.
Okay, thank you. We've learned about the definition of a gear and definition of a gear train. We've said the gear is a toothed gear wheel which messes with another toothed mechanism in order to transfer motion and speed or also power. But we also learned about the gear train that is composed of two or more gears which mesh together to transmit power, to change direction of motion, and also force. And also we have learned about the uses, as Rogers has minded us, some of the uses of gear. So that one marks the end of our lesson today. But before we disperse, we have an assignment here that you need to take home, and you'll submit this assignment when you come back to class. And the assignment here goes, is differentiate between the epicyclic gear system. Pepela? Pepela? Pepela, you can unmute. Benedict, kindly mute, please. Pepela, kindly mute. Benedict, can you hear me? Benedict, kindly mute. Okay, so the assignments say goes differentiate between epicyclic gear system and spar gear system. So this assignment you will hand it the time we'll be having a class again. When we have the physical class next time, ensure that you hand in this assignment. So I wish you all the best. Have a nice time.